We have breaking news, Mets fans. It is quite the contrary from what I spoke with each and every one of you on our video that dropped earlier today on our Big Mets Update segment, having everything to do with Brett Baty looking like he has played himself to stay on this Mets roster over Jose Azcar. Come to find out, that is not the case, everybody. Brett the Hitman Baty is being sent down to Syracuse as Jeff McNeil and Francisco Alvarez return. We're going to get into all the immediate impact that this has on the roster going forward. How long could Brett Baty stay in AAA versus when he will be back with the Mets next, if at all, and everything in between. Thank you guys kindly for smashing that like and subscribe on as you first chime in. Let me know all your initial reactions and thoughts right away on the news here down below, and we're going to get into where this initially stems from and everything in between, everybody. But before we do, let's first shout out today's sponsor here at SeatGeek, because if you guys don't know SeatGeek, you're going to know them now. They are the #1 rated ticketing app in the game for a reason, and not only do you have over 70,000 different events to actively choose from in their app, what really separates them from the rest of my humble opinion is their grading scale on a scale of 1 to 10 and a color coordination scale in the app going from green to red, meaning that if it's green, that's a good ticket, good deal. If it's red, you should probably pass on it and go somewhere else in the app, and a scale of 1 to 10 to tell you, again, if it's towards a 10, absolutely, you want it. If it's towards a 1, you don't want it because it is not the best bang for your buck. And I've been using SeatGeek well before they officially became a sponsor here on the platform, everybody, and I can't thank you guys enough for using our promo code WARDY10 that's linked down below. I know a lot of you guys have already actively done that. Continue to do so for all your ticketing needs, because as you guys can see here in the SeatGeek app, I'm going to check out the latest Mets game against the Nationals beginning this Friday here, April 25th, and I'm going to look for 2 tickets, and already I have a perfect bang for my buck deal. We're at a 10 rating and green, if you guys can see that, just $22 each there for some really nice tickets in section 408 row F. So that's an easy hammer if I'm going to any games in DC. If you guys are, make sure to use our friends here at SeatGeek by using that link down below in the description, because if you already have the app downloaded, it'll hyperlink and it'll be automatically added. Otherwise, download the app right away. Use our promo code WARDY10 so that way you get 10% off your next purchase. And shout out to SeatGeek as always for being an amazing sponsor here on the platform. But guys, let's get into where this news initially stems from. As you guys can see this with me, not here because I'm looking at Brett Baty's numbers. Let's look at what we got on the transaction front, everybody. You see it, it is official. Jeff McNeil has been called up from the 10-day IL. Brett Baty has been sent down to Syracuse. Hayden Senger, as expected, is being sent down to Syracuse, and Francisco Alvarez is coming back to the Mets as well. So that is what we're having, everybody. So let's get into the immediate impact that this has on this Mets team, because we just talked about Brett Baty in our video that dropped earlier today. But to further break this down, folks, what Brett Baty has done pretty much over his past 10 days worth of games, so right around 22 plate appearances. He has 1 home run, that towering home run off of Zach Wheeler that I was in attendance for yesterday. Little did I realize just then that that would be the last, because myself and everyone I was hanging out with at yesterday's game, we all were joking, not even joking, but just laughing at the reality that we all knew, we all expected it to be, that Brett Baty hitting that bomb would help propel him to stay on this team, you know, maybe longer than you initially thought, especially because he's arguably the best Mets infield option outside of Acuna defensively. Like, Baty's glove is fantastic at third, and he can really pick up a guy like Vientos for times that maybe Mark isn't having the best day. Maybe you want to put him to DH. Maybe you want to shift him to DH later in the game and bring Brett Baty in there to have the hot corner for the remaining 2-3 innings, what have you. He has speed on the bags as well, and he's starting to finally lift and drive a baseball with confidence off of Zach Wheeler. That's a really impressive thing to do. So I understand that Baty was very underwhelming for the large portion of his stint here to begin this season, but I guess I'm just a little surprised by the fact that we heard countlessly through David Stearns and Carlos Mendoza in the media the past week that guys like Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo, and Luis Angel Acuna would all get reps platooning at the second base position. That made far more sense to happen, especially if you're not going to have a true backup in center with Jose Azcar being sent back down. But I guess the Mets really have been impressed with Jose Azcar, and I don't blame them in part because Azcar looked great in spring training, and he's been really solid in the 2 games that he's been in with the Mets so far, so he's looked good. He's had a hit in both games. He had 2 hits in his last game for the Mets. He can steal bags like no tomorrow, and we know defense is far from a liability on his front. So for Brett Baty, this is now the latest challenge for him to try to overcome. After hitting the tank, it still wasn't enough, and now he's sent back down true AAA. But if there's any upside to this, especially for my Brett Baty truthers out there that believe that the best is yet to come from him, the upside is that we did see things trend upward for him towards the end of this first stint with the Mets this season. It's likely that he's going to be back with the Mets and probably won't be too long, because Baty probably does profile best in the organization right now as a utility option outside of Jeff McNeil himself, because without having Jose Iglesias and with Luis Angel Acuna playing so good as a guy you need out there every single day, I was saying to myself, Baty does make sense here if he's going to be in that utility role that he was initially competing to get heading into the season before more on the McNeil injury front, among others. But as we figure things out now, it appears that the Mets, one, want to make sure that Acuna gets as much reps as possible, and probably felt that Baty's playing time was going to be so limited because at the end of the day, he and McNeil do profile similar in what you're getting, but McNeil does have the higher upside because he's more versatile, can play in the quarter, is going to give us some center reps now, has all the experience in the world, and is just as defensively sound at second as Baty. Even though Baty's look great, you can make the argument that Baty maybe has more defensive upside. I won't say you're wrong there. He's definitely a better third baseman than Jeff, obviously, too. But the Mets made this decision for a reason, and when you look at the sample size that Brett Baty has had in AAA, it hasn't been nearly as long as a guy like Mark Vientos. So who's not to say that this greater seasoning for him, getting continued reps in AAA, may actually be best for him and his development, so that way he's not being stuck on the bench and being brought in late game situations, high leverage pinch hitting situations, coming off cold, versus just continuing what the Mets are doing right now and having a true backup center field option, so that way they don't have to defer to a guy like Jeff McNeil to get out there and center as much. If they do that, that's probably more based on his offensive production and Acuna playing well too, and they just want to maximize having everybody in the lineup as much as possible. But naturally, with hot and cold streaks that happened in the game today, we're going to see a change on that front with the playing time for guys like Acuna, guys like McNeil now. Jose Oscar will get a start here or there, just to what degree. Tyrone Taylor. The Mets are going to be alternating these guys plenty, especially between Acuna, McNeil, and Nimmo, but this probably lessens things slightly with the early success that Oscar has had for his first couple of games this season. The Mets are just focused on results, understandably so. They're an 18-7 team right now. They want to continue to roll and don't want to maybe hurt the not only development, but maybe further trade value of Brett Baty if he gets stuck on the bench for, say, a good period of time, should McNeil come out guns a-blazing with a torpedo bat. So, guys, I definitely want to hear your thoughts on the Jeff McNeil front in the comments down below. I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts are on it. The same way I'm really curious to know how you guys feel about Hayden Senger being sent down for Francisco Alvarez being called up, because this was expected, but I can't thank Hayden Senger enough for how great he was in the catching spot from the Mets, backing up Luis Torrens for the first month of the season. He proved every doubter, including myself, wrong, what his story he is as a 2018 draft pick, and to see Senger perform as strongly as he did defensively and offensively, to have some, again, bloops, actually some liners as well. He's had his success. So for a guy that we expected so little out of, he far exceeded expectations, is a fine backup, and I will not at all be opposed should he have to come back up. I just hope that if he comes back up, it's because he plays himself up and the Mets are forced their hand, versus it being because of injury, because that's been the reason why. I mean, Torrens got here and it worked out, so, hey, everything happens for a reason, right? If Alvarez didn't get hurt last year, we wouldn't have Luis Torrens, and Luis Torrens is freaking awesome. I think we can all agree on that front. But I'm excited to have Francisco Alvarez back. He is ecstatic to be back. Mike Puma in the New York Post tweeted out earlier today that Alvy's really, really happy to be back on the flight. And he's like, I should know. I'm like sitting right across or right next to him. So I thought that was funny. But Alvarez, with that new compact swing, we're finally going to see this season how it translates at the MLB level. I will fair warn everybody. Don't be surprised if he's underwhelming to start. He didn't do anything crazy in the minor leagues, but I also understand that results don't matter all that much in rehab. McNeil looked great, but again, it doesn't mean that Alvy's going to have the same results or success as he's coming back from that hand injury again, and that's obviously a vital area when you are not only catching baseballs with said hand, but even taking your swings, dealing with foul balls, and dealing with potential hit by pitches in that area that he's had to deal with already in his career multiple times. So Alvarez, I'm excited to see how he's going to do. I'm really curious to see how it will play up with that new compact swing, what the power implementation is going to be like. That has been nerfed at all. Is it back more in similarity to what it used to be? Because we all know Alvarez has 30 home run potential when he's healthy and at his best. He's proven that ability a couple years ago when he was just, 21, 22 years of age. So the sky is the limit, I think, when it comes to Francisco Alvarez's true potential in this Mets lineup. And now we're going to finally start to see, I guarantee he's going to catch at least 2 of the 4 games against the Nationals, if not 3 of the 4. But I think an even 2-2 split between himself and Luis Torrens makes sense given the 4-game set. Guys, definitely let me know how you feel about everything on that front. And before I let you go, let's take a final look at Brett Baty's numbers here, because we broke down his last 22 plate appearances. But this season, in all, in 54 at-bats, we're looking at just 11 hits, a 204 average, a 246 on base percentage, a 598 OPS, and some stellar defense and some solid speed on the bags. Very quick bat as well, but obviously struggled mightily there that we saw when it came to the contact and barrel ability outside of Zach Wheeler just this past day. Mets fans, thank you again so much for watching. I sincerely would like to apologize for a second too. I did not want to mislead anybody, but that is pretty much how it came off earlier today with my video, because I said how is Baty over Ascar, because I firmly believe that. And 9 out of 10 times, what I believe so far to begin the season on the roster transaction front, once the season got going, as we were halfway through spring training, everything was holding true. So this was the biggest surprise to me so far, mainly because it really just felt like the Mets were trying to make it work with Baty and Acuna. They were putting Baty in the lineup more this past week to give him his final looks, and defensively, he showed exactly what you could want. There's an argument to be had that he's one of the most defensively sound options that the Mets have among their infielders, with the exception of Lindor there, obviously, and to a degree, and Alonso when he makes his great scoops, when he's really hot and rolling on every facet, not just offensively, but defensively too. He feeds off of that energy depending on how he's doing with his play appearances, I've noticed. But even McNeil to a degree, and obviously at the hot corner, no shade on Mark at all, but he is a better defender than Vientos at this current point in time. So interesting to see him being the man to be sent down, but I really don't think it's going to be too long before he's back up with this Mets team. I think they just want to see how things work or don't work with McNeil and Alvarez and getting them back acclimated in this lineup, and then figuring out what to do from there should the guys stay healthy. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Looking forward to breaking everything down in our latest Mets content tomorrow for each and every one of you. We'll have you cover a pre and post game more than likely at minimum, and potentially a video that'll drop in the AM before all that stuff happens. Thank you again, and as always, no matter what, let's go Mets. Peace out.